Peter Barba, CEO of Lectrium. I'm here with Phil Jenkins, General Manager of Polestar Boston. We're both in town for the New York Auto Show. We're going to talk a lot about EVs, a lot about the New York Auto Show. But before we get into all that stuff, let's talk about the Celtics. I didn't know you were a Celtics fan.
I didn't know we were going to jump right into that.
I know you're Polestar Boston. I'm a Cavs fan. We may be meeting up Eastern Conference Finals. You said you're a season ticket holder for the Celtics. Is that right?
Yeah, 6 years now.
No way.
Yeah.
Well, Tatum's back. That's a quick recovery. I'm a little worried as a Cavs fan.
I would be worried if I was a Cavs fan.
Yeah,
I'd be very worried if I was a Cavs fan.
We have Harden though. Harden's
We beat Harden a few times in the playoffs.
yeah, with the Sixers. Yeah,
a few times.
We'll see what happens. If Cavs Celtics, we should go to a game.
Yeah,
together.
I'll deal.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Well, cool. So New York Auto Show. I was just there this morning. A couple new EV releases. There's the Kia EV3, and there is the Subaru Getaway, which is awesome. And Polestar has a test drive station. Also has a booth with the Polestar 3 and 4. How's it been being in New York?
It's been good. I mean, I've been here now 6 hours. It's been a busy few hours here so far, but it's been good. This is my 36 hours a year that I'm in New York, and always is built around the auto show. It's always good. I mean, I enjoy coming down.
Yeah.
And seeing everything at the auto show is always a good bonus as well.
I saw the Polestar 4 is in that Arctic Circle spec.
Yeah, that was very cool. I've never seen that in person.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Do you know the story there? I know a little bit, but
I know that a lot of our cars, when we test them and when we do certain events, it's up in northern Sweden in the Arctic Circle, and they drive it on a frozen lake. They've done it with the 2, the 3, the 4. That specific one was built for a promo and a ride and drive event. I don't know if you saw in the middle, it had the handbrake on it.
I saw that,
which is unique for an electric, which was very cool to see, especially the big studded tires and everything. That was a really cool build.
Yeah, it's got the cool brake calipers, and it always interests me that people have range anxiety sometimes with EVs, but then companies like Polestar, are building these and testing them in an incredibly cold, negative 30 degrees Celsius environment, and countries like Norway, where I went to start Lectrium, are now over 95% of new car sales being electric. So it just shows, even in colder climates like Cleveland, like Boston, these cars are built to withstand the cold, and sometimes they have super efficient ways to heat the car. It doesn't necessarily drain from the battery.
People have thought it through.
Yeah.
People have thought this through before getting them out in the public.
Yeah, and that Polestar 4 spec was sick though. It's got the skis on the back.
Yeah, that was really cool.
The bright yellow.
Yeah,
I loved
that was
it.
really, really cool.
Yeah.
Especially when you look at it and you realize, that's a 540 horsepower car.
Yeah. Built
to drive on a frozen lake through, a foot of snow.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
I'll try to see if we can get some photos when we share this. But and Phil, your story is awesome. We kind of known you for a while now, but really getting to catch up over some coffee today. The whole COVID story of how you kind of ran that sales organization at Volvo and kind of then transitioned into Polestar. We don't have to go too deep on it, but what did you learn from that COVID experience, and how did that translate to what you're doing now?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I learned is just how much customers and just the public in general just want a direct, upfront conversation about what they're buying.
Yeah.
Right. There's been a lot of problems for years about how people buy cars and about what's enjoyable about that and what's not, and it should be enjoyable. There are fun things to buy, especially luxury performance cars. And I noticed during that, when we didn't have any real in-store purchases and interactions, customers had a lot of fun buying their car.
Yeah.
Even though I was handing paperwork to them through a glass, window or a door in a car.
Yeah.
And it really streamlined the process. We were much more upfront with customers. We were much more direct with what we have versus what we don't, what we can get and what we can't. And it worked for us, it worked for them, and that kind of rolled into how Polestar works, where it's more online retailing, digital retailing, and upfront pricing.
Yeah, you mentioned the customer satisfaction scores were so high during that time, and So with Polestar, obviously it's a Volvo kind of affiliated brand.
Yeah.
And when you guys first got the Polestar franchise at Village Auto Group in Boston, what was that initial period like when it was so new, and you were kind of just building it out, and you were you immediately went into general manager of Polestar Boston, right?
Yeah, it was it was a busy first few months. I mean, when I told you a few minutes ago off camera, I left Volvo one day, I went on vacation, I came back and I was selling Polestars, and our store wasn't even fully built out.
Yeah.
I was selling, first I was building out how we're going to sell the cars out of a closet upstairs in our old Volvo store.
Yeah.
Where I had an inventory car outside, so if a customer showed up, they could see what Polestar is. But then it was me just trying to understand, how are we going to sell them? How are we going to do test drives? How are we going to finance these?
Yeah.
Putting everything together. It was there was a lot of learning. It was a very fun time, and it was very impactful for me to be able to do that over a few months and years now.
Sounds like building a startup. It's like
very
stepping
similar
into a new situation.
Wearing a lot of hats.
Yeah,
a lot of hats.
Your marketing, your sales, your payroll, your ops. You're probably doing everything. So that's amazing. And with a newer brand, obviously some brands have been around for 100 years at this point. Like Polestar is newer to the market.
Mm-hmm.
How important is it to get people in seats and to get test drives for, especially an electric car too?
That's like the most important thing I look at is how many people are seeing the car, how many people are sitting in it.
Yeah.
Because I think that this car, if you sit in it, you drive it, it's built as well as anything you can buy, that's under $120,000.
Yeah.
It's built with very high-end materials. The quality is great. The drive is incredible. The infotainment system in it, the sound system, pretty much whatever you want to pick out is through the roof. So when people get in and drive it, it shows them who we are and what it is. But also electrics as a whole, it shows them that it's really not a spaceship. There's a lot of anxiety around range and things like that, like you mentioned, but also just, can I figure out how to drive this? And once a customer gets in it, they realize how simple it is and how easy it is to drive and how similar it is to their car now.
Yeah. Butts and seats sell EVs. It's like a...
Butts and seats is everything.
Yeah, that's everything. And that's why I love that New York Auto Show, to bring it back to that, has that EV test drive track downstairs again. I think that's awesome. Anytime I see a consumer-focused event that has an EV test drive experience, I think it's amazing. So yeah, downstairs at the New York Auto Show, they have a track. There's, I think, 8 different brands. Polestar's one of them.
Yep.
And you sign the waivers, and then you get to accelerate. You get to go over bumpy parts, and it's a fun experience.
A little bit of turns. It's cool. It shows what no emissions means too, in a way, right?
Yeah.
You can never do that with a gas car.
Yeah, inside, exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I've gone to a couple more of those. Like there's Drive Electric Week, which happens around the country sometimes. I've seen some major auto groups doing their own version of an EV test drive day for their own staff, actually, where they bring out an EV from each brand, and they have the staff just floor it in an open parking lot. That's actually pretty fun for the staff.
Oh yeah.
Especially these groups with like luxury EVs. Have you guys ever participated in like Boston's Drive Electric Week or like done a test drive day like that?
Yeah, we've done a lot of different test drive days.
Yeah.
The one that was probably the most impactful and it helped a lot with people seeing who we are and understanding the drive was we did one with a group around in the Boston area at a track.
Oh, nice.
And it had, Polestar was there, a few other brands that had electrics and like some gas vehicles, but the gas ones were kind of just off to the side because it was under the same dealer group.
Yeah.
The ones on the track were all electrics, and it was pretty fun to watch everything from a Hummer EV go around a racetrack to a Polestar 2 to a Polestar 1. It's pretty incredible. I mean, truly, like you see typically a luxury car like a Polestar or a Volvo isn't really discussed in the same sentence with customers as a Hyundai.
Yeah.
But with EVs, everybody compares against each other. So to be able to drive them all together and realize that most of them are very good cars to drive.
Yeah.
It's an interesting dynamic that we have.
First of all, it sounds super fun.
Yeah.
I would love to do an EV race day around a track. That'd be sick. And yeah, it's all about relieving those anxieties for consumers and for staff. I've heard of other groups that actually encourage staff to take home an EV for a week and live with it, take a road trip with it, charge in public. And yeah, people are getting more and more comfortable with these cars. And one of the other things to talk about is charging.
Yep.
We talked about it super briefly, but when somebody buys an EV as their main or even their secondary car, home charging is a pretty important factor. And especially,
absolutely,
at first when EVs were first coming out, but now it's kind of figured out. But when you guys sell a Polestar 3 or Polestar 4, now that those are on the lot, how often are you getting asked about level 2 charger installations? And Yeah. Is it ever hanging up a deal of like a customer kind of like saying, hey, I'm not going to get this unless I have a level 2 charger? Or is that kind of not as big of a problem now?
It's never really hanging up a deal
Yeah.
because if a customer is coming in there, they're either planning on getting one or have one.
Yeah.
In the 5 years I've had the store open, I've had one customer who bought one, didn't have charging at home, and called me a few months later and was like, Phil, this is just hard to deal with.
Yeah.
He was a customer that lived in downtown Boston at a high rise, thought
Yeah.
they would install a charger there for him, didn't allow him to. I see him now, he still has his car, and I still see him now every few months, and he now loves it because he's found a charger near his house
Yeah.
that he trusts and he plugs in on it. But it's typically not a big issue. It's something customers ask about, everybody asks about, but it never really holds up the deal because it is something people are really coming to terms with now. It's more a question of, how long does it take to charge, and getting customers used to the adjustment from stopping anywhere at a gas station, leaving your house with a quarter tank, to charging overnight the night before if you're doing a long drive.
Yeah. My grandpa recently got an EV. He actually worked in automotive manufacturing for his whole career. And I got him set up with an EV right before the tax credit deadline, got him set up with a home charger, and now he's just fired up because he loves it.
Oh,
He, they don't have to go to the gas station. He wakes up every morning with a full charge. And he's saving money charging at home with electricity
Oh, yeah.
versus,
Stopping and the fluctuating prices of
yeah,
gas.
it's high right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you guys explain that total cost of ownership equation to customers?
I mean, the dollars and cents of it, it's pretty easy. Customers can get very convoluted. Salespeople can get convoluted if they start going deep down in the path of it. Lectrium we use all the time, which is a good thing. It says right on the window sticker what year over year savings would be versus a traditional vehicle. Lectrium's been a good asset for us because it breaks it down pretty simply for us once you bring us to the specific car a customer's looking at, and they want to know how long it takes to charge, how far they can charge. They drive 10 miles a day versus they drive 60 miles a day. How much are they going to charge?
Yeah.
That's really it. To explain costs of charging, the easiest question is, how much does it cost you to fill up your car right now in the gas station? They say about $50, and you break it down that it's, depending on your kilowatt charge, probably about $25 for a full charge at your home. So.
That's powerful, especially if you zoom out for a full year or like 3 years of ownership.
Yeah.
And thank you for the shout out, by the way.
Yeah, of course.
I appreciate you guys being an early adopter of our tools. And yeah, so getting into, a little bit of like dealership financials, nothing crazy, but, I look at the public like auto groups out there and just hear people on the CDG pod and all that kind of stuff talk about how service is one of the most important profit drivers for a franchise store. And I think even Henry Ford, when he first built the Model T, was saying stuff like that. Like, building the car is great, selling the car is great, but fixing it is one of the major like profit sources. So I've always wondered this, and you and I have not talked about this, but as a general manager of a EV focused store and brand, how do you think about profitability between like, front end and back end gross versus like the service department, F&I? How no need to get into specifics, but how do you think about that coming, from the Volvo side to the Polestar side?
Full circle.
Yeah.
The way I see it is, they work hand in hand.
Yeah.
There's not nearly as much service that is being done on an electric as a gas vehicle. So when I'm selling, or when one of my salespeople is selling, that's a benefit to the customer, just like the cheaper gas prices.
Yeah,
right? You're not coming in as often, and you're not going to have as high of cost once you're out of warranty. So we have to think about that on the flip side too. It's not going to come through on the service side as often.
Yeah.
But that's part of the whole entire ecosystem of selling the car and maintaining the customer, right? I trust that when I sell the car, it will come into the service department. Our service department will handle that correctly. They're not going to see the customer as much, but if we treat them correctly and they get, happy, good service and engagement, then hopefully it brings them back to the other side. So we might not be making as much on the service end because you're not coming in every 3, 5, 10,000 miles. It's every 2 years or 20,000. Then we hopefully bring you back for another vehicle, right?
Yeah.
So it's definitely it's something I have to look at more as a total pie as opposed to A versus B.
Yeah.
But it's a different ball game. I think a lot of people are still figuring a lot of that out too.
I think that's a great way to look at it, putting the customer experience first, and the fact that it's a benefit to them obviously is great for that relationship between the dealer and the customer. And a lot of EVs are leased too. So it's like, hey, if it's going to be a 2 or 3 year lease and they have a great experience, they actually get those total cost of ownership benefits on
Absolutely.
the maintenance saving side and on the fuel saving side. And they already maybe have a home charger installed. Then it's like, okay, this team hooked me up. I had a great experience.
Yep.
The acceleration's incredible. I saved a good amount of money. And it's time for me to get into a new vehicle again. The stats are there that people are kind of staying with EVs after that first purchase. And now that you guys have been there for,
It'll be 5 years.
5 years.
In about a week, yeah.
Well, congrats.
Thank you.
Have you been seeing that like kind of repeat business? And
Yeah, we've had a lot. So my background, as I mentioned to you before, is with Volvo. And Volvo, I always thought is a very loyal brand. We have Boston Volvo is the store I worked at. They've been around for 60 years. We had customers that have been shopping there for a majority of that.
Yeah.
And I didn't think I'd ever see a customer as loyal. Polestar has a lot of those as well. We've already developed like a pretty good fan following. I have customers that, I could pull out my phone right now and call and ask, and they would tell me exactly how they feel about the car, good or bad, their service experience. It's been great. And I think, that's part of the business, right? It's also more of a customer forward sales experience. One of the things when you mention, you only come in one time during that lease is that gives you less chances to wow the customer and make sure everything is right. So it's really customer experience forward, right? First sale and that first visit are very important to make sure the third time they come to see you is to either get a new one or say, hey, Phil, I need something new. Do I buy this one out? Do I get a pre-owned one? Do I, what is my next decision?
Yeah.
Because that's all. If the wheel doesn't keep on turning, then, then we're in trouble. So
Yeah, no, definitely. And I love the way that you framed it. And 2 days ago, I was at the New York Auto Forum.
Mm-hmm.
And, one of the topics of discussion is, the franchise system compared to the DTC brands. And a lot of the DTC brands just so happen to be electric.
Mm-hmm.
But there are franchise brands that are also fully electric, like Polestar, like VinFast. There are more coming out as well that are EV brands, but that have adopted the franchise model, which I think is awesome. And just to talk about Tesla for a second, because obviously they kind of ushered in.
They made the space.
Yeah, they ushered in like the whole EV wave. I follow what they do really closely on like a merchandising side, on, just kind of the way that they present information to their customers. How do you kind of view them as competition in the space? Has the fact that they've gotten so many people interested in EVs actually kind of helped you guys in a way? Because some people already may have had a Tesla, then they're like willing to maybe upgrade into something slightly more premium. Just kind of what has your experience been kind of competing against a brand like that?
So what I've said for years is Tesla was my best salesperson for a long time.
Okay.
Right? Because they did get everybody in the market. They created the market in a way. But the amount of customers that walked through my door that 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago, if they wanted electric, that was really your only option. It was a Tesla, or you could buy a Nissan Leaf or a Chevy Bolt.
Yeah.
Which are far different cars and also very different than what I'm selling now. So we had customers come in, and now that there's a lot more options, they have their experience where they know what it's like to drive an electric, but they have either things that were deficient in the Tesla or that they liked about it that they want to see in the new one. And it's very easy when a customer has knowledge and expectations to be able to work with that, because you can, match what Tesla does and elevate it with what Polestar does, or you can acknowledge what they do if there's something they do better than us and show why on the other end we may compete in a higher threshold. Right? They've done a lot of great things for us. They've done a lot of tough things for us.
Price has always been tough because they come in so low on price sometimes.
But if you really look at their communications and the way that they speak about their brand, they did it very different than a lot of other brands, right? Yeah. Now they've mentioned they're a volume brand.
Yeah.
So they want to be Ford, Honda, instead of where they came out as like a luxury brand, where it's BMW kind of, right? So Ford, Honda, those brands are a mass amount of cars. And if you think about it, when they came into the U.S. market, they were very, very cheap, selling a Civic in the 80s.
Yeah.
And then got more expensive and built out more cars. Tesla did the opposite, where they came in with a very expensive Model S.
Yeah.
Built out this like luxury aura around them, and then came out with more models and went down in price. So they now have this mystique around them, where some people see them as a luxury brand, some people see them as the value brand that they are.
Yeah.
And it's been interesting to deal with, because in a lot of ways you can work off of that, where our cars are a little bit more luxury than theirs, but they are, they have expertise that we just don't have as being a 15-year-old brand, right? So
yeah, it's always interesting. And I love that phrase. Tesla was kind of your best salesperson, because they educated so many people in this space. Just real quick, going into so Phil, how is your mix of sales between new and used, and how have you been thinking about used EVs coming to the market? Before you answer, there's a ton of articles about the used EV wave coming this year in 2026, just based on the volume from 2024, 2023, and I know some major auto groups are starting to think about like, hey, how are we going to deal with this wave of used EVs? An article also just came out about how the tax credits actually could have negatively impacted, residual values and some things for lenders in the space. But as a GM at a franchise store, how's it going, the last couple months on like the new versus used EV side?
Yeah. So, I mean, ever since we started selling used, which was about 2 years ago now, it's been a steady increase of our units. We're still primarily new. But as we get more used, and there's a lot more coming off this year, like you mentioned, 2026 is a big year for the end of leases.
Yeah.
As we get more of those, we're going to sell a lot more.
Yeah.
The last 2 months, we almost can't keep them on the shelves.
So it's mostly a matter of getting the supply.
It's getting the supply, but also getting the awareness around it. I think a lot of people now are catching on to the fact that a used EV is a fantastic value. I think what you were kind of alleviating towards, the value of the car is going down with the tax credit. It might not be great for the lender or the leasing company, but it's great for the consumer.
Yeah, it is. If you can get a great EV for in the $20,000 range, that's fantastic.
You can buy a used Polestar right now with 20,000 miles that has every option that 2 years ago would have cost you $60,000 for 27.
Yeah,
with extra warranty. If you compare that to what you can buy on a brand new or even used other brands, there's a lot of value there.
So is your used supply mostly coming from lease returns, or are you guys buying off the street, trade-ins?
It's a majority of them is lease returns, trade-ins and lease returns. If I have the option to buy one off the street, if a customer calls in for one, or if I farm one somewhere, I would do that.
Are you sourcing all brands or mostly Polestar?
Right now we're all Polestar.
All Polestar on the used side. Cool.
Absolutely, yeah. So if I was off brands, then I would have a lot more avenues to buy them. But the reason most of them are lease returns and trade-ins is just where the market for them in the Boston area. We're the ones that put them in the business on the road. So they're coming back to us, and we're able to take them from there.
Yeah, and you can service them as well, right?
We can service them. We also have history on them, so I know if they're the right car to buy versus the wrong car to buy.
Yeah.
A lot of time a car gets traded in, and you have a mechanic put it on a lift and do a safety check and a used car check on it, and it looks great, and it gets on the road, and a week later the transmission stops working.
Yeah.
And that's just something you can't prep for. But if you have a history of that car, you might know, this one has XYZ history. Yeah. This one's been in the shop a bunch. This one's never seen the shop. So you know which ones to buy and which ones to put in.
So on the new side right now, you guys are pretty focused on the Polestar 3 and 4, right?
Absolutely.
On the used side, is it mostly the Polestar 2 and 3? Or do you guys ever see a Polestar 1? I know there's not a ton of those out there on the road in the U.S. But,
it's primarily Polestar 2.
Yeah.
It's about 95% Polestar 2. We'll start seeing some Polestar 3s very soon. The first ones got on the road back in end of October 2024. So a lot of those aren't really close to coming out of their leases, but by the end of this year, you'll start seeing more of those.
Nice.
Polestar 1, we don't see a ton of. We have one at our store that was sent to us as a brand new car. We've used it a little bit here and there, and it's for sale. It's an incredible car.
And it's a hybrid, right?
It's a hybrid. Yeah. 620 horsepower, 700 pounds of torque, carbon fiber body. The Bowers & Wilkins sound system in it is as immersive as it gets. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I've had a couple people call me and ask, what I would buy one for, but a lot of those are cars that people are buying to hold on to as almost a collector's piece.
Yeah.
That's not a car you're buying to drive every day.
Right.
So you're not buying it to trade it in either.
I don't quote me on exactly how many units there are in production and on the roads, but I think it's under 2,000.
Yes. Yeah.
Which, yeah, that
Under
is
2,000 worldwide.
okay.
Less than that in the U.S. was the numbers I was given back in 21.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I can see how that could be a collector's piece.
Oh, yeah.
Real quick, just zooming into the used EV side of the game. It's awesome to have a general manager of a EV store in the room here to ask this question to. There's a lot of talk online about used battery health, and obviously I'm a believer that like that's an important piece of the industry that should be built for automotive, for franchise stores, for independent used EV stores. Showing testing a battery, making sure that it's healthy, validating how far the car can go, all that stuff is important for many reasons. But I'm curious about the consumer. Is that coming up in consumer questions before they buy these cars? And if so, is it coming up a lot, a decent amount, or not so much? I want the real answer because I'm trying to understand as this huge return comes, are consumers going to be like, hey, car's still under warranty, it's like not necessary to kind of go that deep into this right now, or is it like one of the top 2 or 3 questions they ask?
It's definitely a question a lot of customers ask. I would say probably 50-60% of customers ask about that right now. It's a good thing to know, right? I think with it being so new, I think even a lot of the customers that do ask about that don't really know what's a good number and what's a bad number. Yeah. With the Polestars that I sell, candidly, I do a battery report on every one. I haven't had one come back with less than 92%. Wow. And that's on, at this point, a 5-year-old car. Yeah. So I think that's great.
That is great.
In the grand scheme of things, like what's the, how much are you supposed to lose a year, right? If you're at 91% 5 years into a 40,000 mile car, I think that's a great life. If you take care of the batteries, the battery will take care of you. Yeah. Just like the battery on your phone, your laptop, whatever. If you charge it correctly and you take care of it, it will run. I think that is something that is going to be more prevalent in the next few years. And I think that there's an opportunity for a lot of brands and a lot of companies to come up with a way to display that more to customers. Yeah. You think about used cars, everybody asks for a Carfax. Soon, I think the battery health report will become as prevalent as that.
That's a great hypothesis. I believe in that as well.
Yeah, I think it's important to be transparent with the customer and tell them what they're getting into as well. Yeah. Right? Why hide that?
Especially, when these warranties are expiring from the manufacturer. Like, I think it'll become 100% of conversations at that point. So selling EVs is different than selling, gas cars. Like, we've gone over a bunch of different reasons. There's, explaining total cost of ownership. There's explaining how to get a charger installed. There's explaining, battery health. There's explaining cold weather driving. Like there's a lot of differences. I sometimes go into a Tesla showroom or a Rivian showroom, and I see Tesla selling solar. They're selling power walls. They're selling chargers. They're selling robots. They're obviously selling cars. Yeah. In the deep future, 5 or 10 years from now, if you could design your perfect showroom, budget's not an issue. Yeah. Just creatively speaking, what would be a couple things you would have in there? One part of it can be EV focused consumers, but another part of it can just be like for fun. What would you have in there?
It would be like all encompassing. I know this is broad, but green energy, right? Yeah. I would like it to be somewhere that you could go in and invest in a solar panel, so you're charging off solar instead of off the grid. Yeah. Home batteries or bidirectional chargers. We're talking 5-10 years, right? So bidirectional chargers would be great to have at your home. Coffee. Yeah. Coffee's a big one.
That's a big one.
That's the big stuff, because I think it should be a one-stop shop. Yeah. Right. If you're making this investment, you're making this big change from going to the gas station every day to charging at your home, you should be able to come into those stores and figure out exactly what you can walk away with. Yeah. And what you can do to make your life cheaper, right? Because that's what a big thing everyone cares about. But also, if you're buying an EV, you're probably interested in going green and being more sustainable. So why not make it more all-encompassing, where you do have a tie into a solar brand?
Yeah.
So you can pull in your new car, and you can also pay less because you're using, solar energy, and have the bidirectional charger. So if there's a disaster and you lose power at your house, you can run off your car for a bit.
Americans love being independent, and energy independence is so important. So
And we're very reliant on not on the grid and not independent for our energy.
Yeah.
Where I think that's a natural solution to a lot of grid changes that are going to have to come over the next 20 years, 10 to 20 years, is everybody being their own source in a way. And I think you should be able to get that at your car store as well, right? Because it all ties together.
Let's talk about one more auto topic, and then we'll go into Cavs Celtics, one last prediction.
Okay.
AI. So, we're talking about energy. Obviously, the AI boom is hitting every industry. People are building these massive data centers to process these LLM models and all the requests. And, the whole AI industry is just booming. And in the auto space, it's starting to take off as well. I've seen, I went to NADA. I see these amazing booths of some really cool founders and companies that have raised money to deploy AI in the automotive space. And, we were talking earlier about AI in your CRM and, but as a general manager, how else, other than, using it to answer calls in off hours, what's one other use case that kind of you would be interested in for your store?
I mean, the answering the calls off hours is just such a layup. I think the biggest thing would be to really tie in everything we've spoken to today and make it understandable for customers, right?
Yeah.
So if a customer looks at it, let's just go back to what I just spoke about, battery health. Customers might ask for it. I tell them it's got a 93% battery health, and they don't know if that's great or if that's bad.
Yeah.
You should be able to, I would like it to be able to speak to that AI agent and figure out, is that great? Is that bad? Compare that versus the average. What's the rate of loss every year?
Yeah.
Really just help them understand the transition from gas to electric, or just help make their transition easier.
Yeah.
Because the questions I've heard at the store are very wide ranging.
Yeah, they're broad.
I've had customers ask me, can I just use a 100-foot extension cord to charge my car, or do I have to install a charger?
I've heard the extension cord one too.
And that's don't use the extension cord, right? But you've had that question come from, customers that are sitting in a $3 million home and have multiple cars in their driveway. And then you've also had somebody that asked, can I charge my phone from my car? You just very odd questions, right? So you should be able to have your AI assistant work with those customers to handle their specific use cases and their specific questions, instead of just broadly, this is what I can price your car out for.
Right.
We'll call you back tomorrow. Here's your service appointment. Very easy things that the AI can do right now.
It's almost like taking your brain or your salespeople's brain and combining it with your inventory.
Yeah.
And with, your OEM's rules and with your monthly specials, and then also training it off of what you hear in the showroom. And then, it'd be cool to, what if you could record every customer question and then write out an answer and train something that,
and just get it to understand what's really working. I didn't even get into specials and pricing. That's another one that, as a consumer, I've been on that side of the computer as well.
Yeah.
It's hard to understand what a car really costs once you decide what you want, miles per year if you're leasing, taxes and fees, money down, colors and options. It's hard.
Yeah.
I would love an assistant that gets that to you, right?
Yeah.
So I'm all about transparency. I've mentioned a few times. I would like customers to be able to go on, ask all their questions, get answers to it, and then say, this is the car I want. Give me a realistic number.
Yeah.
And have it break it down for them so they understand what they're looking at, and not coming into a surprise, and not coming into a change in what they expected, right?
Yeah.
Whether their information was right that they came in on or wrong, I'd rather them to be able to find what's right.
And the weird part now is that the customers are asking an AI system, but it's the generic ChatGPT model or the generic Claude model or the generic Gemini model.
What can I buy a Polestar 3 for? And it spits out an offer, but it doesn't find the Polestar 3 they want. Yeah,
exactly. And then also, it's hard to, customers can ask so many things in the beginning of the chat and kind of frame this thing. So it'd be great for a franchise store or an auto group to have an internal or even externally facing place for customers to search. I think that's a great idea. Whoever's building that,
get to it.
Yeah, you're gonna crush it. Cool, man. Well, this has been great. last thing before we wrap up, Cavs Celtics.
Yeah, let's go.
Obviously, the playoffs haven't even started yet, but by the time this comes out, we will likely be in the NBA playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I think the matchups are going to be in the second round. I'm not as worried about the first round, but I think it'd be Pistons Cavs and then Knicks Celtics. Knicks Celtics, that's a tough one. Last year, the Knicks beat you guys. Would you guys be able to get through them this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can. Last year was a fluke. It was, I mean, they beat us fair and square. It wasn't. I shouldn't say it was a fluke.
Yeah.
But I mean, we had two of the worst shooting performances in history. If you remember, we missed, I think, like 33s in one game.
Yeah,
I don't expect that to happen again. We just got a midseason edition of Jason Tatum, one of the best players in the world, who's coming back, and he's 20-10-7, I believe, as of right now, and only getting better. I would be very nervous to be playing the Celtics in the playoffs, as I always would be. But
I agree. I haven't told you this, but I actually played AAU basketball against Peyton Pritchard and against Jaylen Brown.
Okay.
They were both in the Adidas Gauntlet.
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown was in a game elite, I think, out of Atlanta, and Peyton Pritchard was Team Fast out of Washington.
Mm-hmm.
They were crushing it. So I was whenever we played them, I was like, oh man, like this is gonna be tough.
Pritchard's everyone loves Pritchard in Boston. He's just like a hustle guy. He's a little short and kind of an underdog story in that way, right? And
I love his videos like dribbling in his garage.
Oh yeah, like between the legs and everything. Yeah. And there's also one of him doing like a TikTok dance, I think from college. It's funny.
Nice.
But he if you pay attention to the Celtics, since he was a role player or deep on the bench, everybody on the team was saying, that kid can ball.
Yeah.
And now the last few years, it's been good to see him actually on the court be able to do it and show it off. He gets a lot of hype for the buzzer beaters and everything, but everything else he does on the court is, he's a dog. He gets out there and plays. This
year's been cool for the Celtics. I mean, I'm a Cavs fan, but the Celtics they've had some people step up into bigger roles, and being second in the East when everyone kind of wrote them off after trading Drew Holiday, trading Kristaps, Tatum being hurt. Like a lot of people wrote the Celtics off. Jaylen Brown steps up, has like a near MVP performance. It's going to be fun to watch.
It'll be very fun. I mean,
the East is going to be fun this year.
We gotta thank Brad Stevens.
Yeah.
This guy, I mean, Derek White he's like a diamond in the rough that has been incredible for us. You can't forget about him. We've had some incredible drafts and just a deep team. We have a team that's really built for the way that basketball is played now.
Yeah.
Where we have multiple guys that can cover multiple positions. Tatum and Brown are our two best players, and Tatum might be the best passer on the team, or is the best passer on the team, I would say, while also probably being the best rebounder.
This is awesome. I didn't know we were going into this deep, but I got to give the Cavs a plug too.
Yeah, I'll give.
We have great trade for Harden. We got Mitchell and Harden now, and then Mobley, defensive player of the year last year. He's really stepped up, and when you have Mobley and Allen, it's tough to score in the paint against the Cavs. And now we have younger guys like Jalen Tyson stepping up. I don't know if you've watched him yet, but he had a couple big games this year. So
they've been fun to watch. 2 years ago, the playoff series against them was a blast.
That was a blast.
I think we still ended up.
That was your guys won the finals.
I think we smoked you guys, but it was a good. Yeah, it was a good series. I think it was 4-1 or something like that. But it was a good series and it was fun. They're a fun team to watch.
Yeah. Well, good luck to the Celtics. Good luck to Polestar Boston.
Good luck to the Cavs.
And
thank you.
Yeah, Phil, this was great.
Absolutely, it was great. Hopefully I'll be back here next year.
Yeah, let's do it.
Absolutely.
See you guys.
Later, guys.